Welcome to another episode of 5-5 Sports. We're back, and what a crazy week of sports we have been through. The NBA and NHL playoffs have begun, while the Europa League and Champions League campaigns are winding down. We're going to break it all down over the next little bit. Joining me today, once again, is Matthew and Daria. We're going to have a lot to discuss. I think we're going to have a lot of heated arguments. We're going to have a lot of good debates, so stay tuned, sit down, and get ready for this great episode of 5-5 Sports. I think we're going to start with the NBA playoffs, which just started yesterday. So we're going to break down the first four games that happened on Monday, and then we're going to preview the rest of the series that are starting Tuesday and so on. Let's start with the Raptors, as, again, we are from Toronto. So we will start with the Raptors. Comprehensive, I think is the right word, win over the Brooklyn Nets. They were up by 30 at one point. Brooklyn made it close towards the fourth quarter, but the Raptors, as they do, know how to put teams away. I think there's not too much to break down in this series. Do Brooklyn have any chance to, let's say, even win a game? Because it's quite obvious Toronto's going to win the series.
I have it as a sweep. I think Toronto's just a better team overall. Brooklyn, they don't even have the best players playing with them in the playoffs. I don't see how they have a chance of stealing a game.
Yeah, it's something because they don't have their best players, and I think it's to be expected that the Raptors should come away with this pretty easily. It was a little bit obviously of a threat that Brooklyn were coming back in that game, and I have a feeling that won't be the first time it happens. But that being said, I do think the Raptors have full control of the series, especially in if they can get game two going.
I mean, the Raptors played better than I expected. Just they weren't missing in the first half. Defensively, they were locked in, as you would expect. Brooklyn, I think outside of Karis LeVert, don't have any threats. They had that one guy that's referred to as TLC that can shoot threes. He was a pretty good shooter yesterday, but even with him, you got Joe Harris, who's a good shooter. Brooklyn just don't have a playoff roster. And when you have KD and Kyrie, it's going to be a different story next year. But obviously, KD's been injured all year. He'll come back next year. Like Kyrie, again, not in the bubble. So Brooklyn are going to have challenges to win a game. Could they win one? Yeah, sure. Maybe Toronto, takes the pedal off the gas for a game. But if Toronto plays the way they did on Monday, they just don't have much of a shot, really. I think the X factor throughout the playoffs is going to be OG Anunoby. We talked about defensively. He's just so long and he's so quick that he gets into guys' faces so quickly. And he's a great player. Offensively, he can be on and off. He's a bit streaky, but if he's hitting threes and defensively, what you're getting out of OG. But it's a question when you get into later rounds, is OG going to be hitting that three consistently? And that's one of the things you're going to need from him if you're going to make a deep playoff run, if you're going to beat a Milwaukee. If you're going to make the finals, if you're going to play Clippers or Lakers, whoever that would be. But again, that's all hypothetical. But I'll let you guys go into your X factors because there's not much to discuss with this Brooklyn series. It's probably going to be a sweep, maybe 5 games. But for me, it's OG Anunoby, that X factor for the Raptors. That's going to be beyond the first round. And I'll let you guys speak. Who's your X factor for the series?
I was originally going to say OG as well. Because I said before on the show, I think OG has really filled in that hole that we've been missing when Kawhi left. Obviously not to the same level as Kawhi, but he's been filling that role defensively. And I think if he could be consistent and kind of keep that up, I think that could be what takes us far in the playoffs.
And at the OG dogged that and won in the fourth quarter. That was the play in the Raptors game that went kind of not viral, but that kind of hit the U.S. Markets and hit the U.S. pages and the social media, Bleacher Report and kind of ESPN. That was a play that they highlighted. It was just a great play. He rebounds over 4 Brooklyn Nets. Jared Allen, who's about 8'7", and a bunch of other guys are around that play. And OG, he just wanted it more. Grabbed the rebound, went up with it, and finished for the and one. A great play by him. And he has evolved offensively this year. He really has. If you watch his game, inside he's a lot better. Inside the paint, his jump shot's gotten better. He's hitting threes at a consistent rate. I think it's about 40%. So yeah, he's elevated his game a lot. So it's just can he take that game to the next level? And it's going to be this playoffs in the next few years. But he's going to be a great player for years to come, and that's going to be the question around OG is how good can he get? Because the sky's the limit for him. He's built to be a successful NBA player, and you see he's a quiet killer. You don't really talk about OG Anunoby. When you talk about the Raptors, you kind of talk about Larry Van Vliet. You talk about Pascal Siakam, but OG, he's been that consistent one this year. He's been the starting five all year. So I'm excited to watch him in the playoffs because, he's going to be a threat for sure if you want to make a deep run because you know what the other guys are bringing you. The question is, what's OG going to bring you? So let's cover the other NBA games that happened yesterday. We'll start with the first game, Denver, Utah. Terrific game. Went to overtime. We got some free basketball. But Donovan Mitchell, in a losing effort, put in 57. Let's talk about how do you think the rest of the series is going to go. Denver is obviously up 1-0. No Mike Conley for Utah, who left the bubble to attend the birth of his son. How much of a factor is not having Mike Conley going to be?
I think it will definitely be a factor, but I don't think it will change the outcome of what I was predicting of the series. I predicted originally Denver in 7. I predicted it to be a close series, and I stuck by that prediction.
Yeah, no, I echo what Troy said. I do think that this is like a series that they'll obviously miss Conley, but I do think that Denver have what it takes. And however, I didn't expect Mitchell to have like a performance as he did the other day. So seeing what Utah can do, it makes me wonder how this series really is going to pan out. But I do think in 7, I have yet to decide really who will go through for me. But to be honest, if I'll still lean towards the Nuggets.
Yeah, I know you're a big Utah fan, but not having Mike Conley is really going to hurt them. Terrific player. One of their better players outside of Donovan Mitchell. I think it's like Mitchell, Gobert, then Mike Conley in terms of importance and in terms of skill level. He brings that veteran leadership, that understanding to Utah's play. And he's a coach's dream. He does all the little things right. Just reminds me of Kyle Lowry a little bit. Kind of that same impact, the way he's kind of developed throughout his career. But yeah, Mike Conley is obviously going to be a big miss. I'm going to cheat a little bit with my prediction. Obviously, we saw Denver win yesterday. So I'd say if they win game 2, Denver wins on 5. But if Utah wins, I will predict Denver in 6. I think they're just too strong. Jokic, we could talk all day about what a terrific player Nikola Jokic is. Just does everything at center, kind of a unique player at center. And we've never seen a player with kind of his build, that height, have that kind of skill set. He's such a soft touch. Great for assists. He scores, he rebounds. There's just not much he doesn't do for that team. And then Jamal Murray, the little Canadian shadow, terrific down the stretch yesterday. He was hitting everything. And without Jamal Murray, Utah wins that game 1 behind Donovan Mitchell. But Jamal Murray said, not today, Donovan. He put that team on his back late in the 4th quarter and in overtime, hitting everything in sight. So I'm excited to watch Jamal Murray because he has really elevated his game this year. We thought he was great last year. This year, he is an even better version, of himself. So I'm excited to see how that series goes. 2 really good teams. It's unfortunate that Mike Conley isn't there, but I think Denver has that edge. And when we did our playoff predictions, I predicted it. The winner of Denver Clippers, if they both advance, the winner of that series is going to win it all. So I'm excited to see what Denver can do if they advance past the first round.
Yeah, I think yesterday's game was definitely an indication of how well contested the series will be. So I'm excited to see how that turns out.
Yeah. The third game, Philadelphia-Boston. It was a close game, and towards the end when Boston finally pulled away. But Philadelphia kept it close for the majority of that game, even taking the lead late stages in the 3rd quarter. But Boston did win. Do Philadelphia have any shot without Ben Simmons?
I'd say they could probably steal a game because even without Ben Simmons, they still have a team of talented players.
Yeah.
Like Embiid, Tobias Harris. But I still take Boston 5 games. I think they're overall a better coach team. They have more chance of like pulling away with it. And it was like throughout the whole series, not whole series, throughout the whole season, just Boston when you look at the two teams, Boston always looks like the team that has a better shot of like going far than Philly.
Are you?
Yeah, I want to see give Philadelphia more of a chance. But to be honest with you, although they have players like Embiid and Tobias Harris, they still have talented players. I feel like the Celtics are just are a little bit like more balanced in a sense, and the fact with Tatum scoring the way he is, as well as Jaylen Brown, I do think the Celtics have just the edge over this. And you can really see yesterday the lack of not having Ben Simmons on the court really impacted Philadelphia. So for me, I maybe give them more of a chance. I'll maybe say Game 6, but other than that, I think it's Boston's to lose.
Yeah, I have to agree with Matthew. I have Boston 5 simply because, one, Ben Simmons, and two, Brett Brown's not a very good coach. Brad Stevens is an excellent coach. I would say at least top 5 in the league. He is a very similar to Nick Nurse with more recognition just because he's in that Boston market. He's done a terrific job with the Celtics, don't get me wrong. But, again, without Ben Simmons, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been excellent this year. They've developed superbly over the last season. And they have a lot of other good players, like Kemba Walker. We don't even talk about Kemba Walker is a phenomenal player. So Boston is just much more skilled, I would say. They're much better on the offensive side of the floor. And then defensively, Jason Tatum's become a different player on the defensive end, as well as Brown. So Boston just knows how to win. They're just better coach. Brett Brown, I think it's a shame that he's still the coach of Philadelphia because I think they'd have a real shot without him. And I'd love to see what would happen with a different coach, with a healthy Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. I think they have to get rid of the head coach there. He's just not cutting it. They kept him for a long time, Brett Brown. He is kind of with them through that whole trust the process phase for the 76ers, but at this time it's clear that he's not the man. He should have been fired after Game 7 last year against the Raptors.
He took the team as far as he could.
Yeah, he did. So it's time to get a coach that can win if you're Philadelphia. It's clear that Brett Brown's not that guy. And for that reason, I have Boston 5. 1, no Ben Simmons. And 2, they're just not well coached. I think if they have a better coach, they win Game 1 and you maybe can take them to 7 games and anything can happen in Game 7, as we always say. But again, I think we're pretty set on Boston winning in 5. And the final game that happened last night, the best game, I think, of the day, the Clippers-Mavericks. A close game, a lot of superstars on display in that series, and a lot of good players. You got 2 good teams. The Clippers took Game 1. Do the Mavericks have any chance of finding a way to win that series in 7?
I want to have Clippers in 6. I think they're just a better team. This is no disrespect to Luka Doncic because he is one of, if not the best young player in the league right now.
Yeah, future of the league, definitely.
Yeah.
Him and Giannis are definitely the future of the league without
100%.
question.
If Porzingis doesn't get ejected like he did yesterday, I think Mavericks could actually put up a fight each night. I mean, even without Porzingis, they did put up a fight last night. But Clippers are just different team. Like they're just like a different animal. Like on both ends of the floor, they know how to win games. And players like Kawhi and Paul George, who are like 2 of the best 2-way players in the league. I say it won't go Game 7. I think Clippers will take it in 6.
Yeah, it honestly can't be overstated how awesome Doncic is. And to be honest, if there really is a chance in this series, I know people will say obviously Porzingis. I think he is that player that gives them that big edge for the games that they can take away wins for. I mean, come on, he had 42 points last night and seven rebounds. Like he was insane. And to be honest, I want to say I'll probably go with the same prediction as Troy. Actually, I'll probably go with 6 for the Clippers. I don't see Dallas coming away with this, but stranger things have happened, so I guess we have to see.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking yesterday, I had Dallas 7 seed, and I remember they were the 3 seed for a while, and then Porzingis got injured. They had a few injuries they had to deal with, and then they fell to 7. That just speaks volumes of how good the West is, really. There's 8 really good teams. We have to remember even Portland, who we'll discuss in a little bit. They have they're a different team from the beginning of the year. They were very injured. They had Nurkic injured. They had a whole they had a whole list of injuries. Portland. Well, yeah, just speaking about Dallas Clippers, the Porzingis injury, or sorry, not injury, the Porzingis ejection was ridiculous. The playoff game, again, we saw all over social media. Everyone's calling one of the softest ejections that they could remember in a while, and I fully agree. There's just no arguing it. I don't know why he was ejected in a playoff game, especially. Stuff gets heated. You have two very good teams playing each other. Just ridiculous that he even was ejected. And it's a shame because Dallas could have won that game. They really could have won that game. But just on the Clippers, you see what happens when they have to dial in. They're so long, they're so athletic, they're so talented on the defensive floor. They just, they get hands in your faces. They contest shots so well that it's hard to score when they're really dialed in. And Dallas had that stretch after they went down 10-0 in the first quarter. And then they went on like this 48-18 run, took the lead. But the Clippers, again, found a way. The third quarter, Dallas only had 13 points, and that's the game right there when you only score 13 and a quarter. The Clippers just know how to win with Kawhi Leonard. Paul George, he was excellent yesterday as well. But again, Luka was the star of the show, and he's going to be the reason why the Mavericks keep this series close if they do. Again, Clippers in 5 or 6, I think you guys have it spot on just because how good the Clippers are. And it's hard to see them not winning a championship even. We talked about maybe, they haven't played with each other enough, but when that team's dialed in, they have so much talent on that roster. There's just not one bad player. If you look through everyone that played, Marcus Morris, 19 yesterday, Kawhi Leonard, 29, Zubac, 10 and 10, Patrick Beverley, he's just like he's a little pit bull. Does everything defensively. Yeah, he put up 8 points, but his job isn't to score. Obviously, it's to defend. Paul George, 27. Lou off the bench, put up 14. So you go through that roster, and everyone's so committed defensively, and then they could score. They could score individually. They're not really a team. They don't score as a team. They just they share the ball on different possessions. It's when do you who wants to score this possession? Give me the ball and I'll shoot it up and put it in. So it's hard to see the Clippers losing because of how talented they are at both ends of the floor, and they're going to be a tough beat. You got to beat them 4 times to knock them off. I don't know many teams that could beat that team 4 times. I really struggle to see an NBA team that's going to beat that team 4 times. And let's move on to today's games. They haven't played yet. We record Tuesday for any of viewers that don't know. We record Tuesday and the podcast goes up Wednesday. But we are making our predictions. We have not seen any of these games yet. It's Tuesday morning at about 9 o'clock. But we'll start with Orlando, Milwaukee. Can we just skip this 4-game sweep for Milwaukee?
4-game sweep for Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Giannis, too good. Orlando, not very good. Miami, Indiana, it's going to be a much better series. 2 very good teams. 2, I think, very even teams. And that's probably going to go 6 or 7. So how do you guys see that one playing out?
I'll say Miami in 7. I think these are 2 very evenly matched teams. I think this would be a hard-fought series. I just think that if the season was any indicator, Miami they could always beat Indiana. And even though players like T.J. Warren has been going off in the bubble, I think the game he hasn't been going off was against Miami. Eric Spoelstra, I think he's one of the most underrated coaches in the league. I think even throughout his whole career, it goes a little understated because he had LeBron and Wade. People don't really know how good of a coach he is, but he has done a terrific job with the team. And Jim Butler, I think he's also just he's one of those players that the competitiveness in him could drive the team.
All right.
It's a question. Is Oladipo supposed to play in the series? He should be fit, yeah.
I want to say no.
Because I'm not sure.
Game time decision, they say.
Game time. Okay. So by the time this comes out,
he hasn't played yet, though.
Okay.
So that's your information now.
Yeah.
Make of it what you will.
I'm gonna give the edge as well to Miami. I do think they have an underrated coach. I do think that I've always liked that side, even in the regular season. So, but again, it's like a 4th versus 5th seed. So it's one of those. It's really tough to decide even that because both teams have a lot of players going out like Warren. They do have so I don't know. You know, I'm gonna give it to Miami in 6. Actually, I'm gonna give it to Miami in 6.
I want to disagree with you guys, but I'm struggling to disagree with you guys. I like Miami more. I think they have more talent. Again, you said Eric Spoelstra is a bit underrated. I think he's been recognized for the job he's done. He's been there for a long time, and he's won. He won with that big three, and he's proven again, even without. Jimmy Butler is a superstar, but with good players, he can elevate. He can elevate their game. Duncan Robinson came from the 3rd division of basketball, made a great story now in the NBA, shooting lights out every game. You have Tyler Hero, great shooter. Kelly Olynyk playing well. And Kendrick Nunn, a rookie. He's really kind of come out of shadow this year to produce really good basketball. And then again, Jimmy Butler, who sets the tone every time he's on the floor. He's the guy you look for kind of that inspiration, for that motivation. And no matter what, he brings his A game. He's giving you 100% no matter what. So just for that, I think, honestly, everyone likes Indiana. They are well coached. I think Nate McMillan's done a great job over the last few years. But I'm going to disagree with the amount of games. I think Miami in 5. I think they'll get off to a good start. And if they win game 1, it all comes down to game 1. Indiana has to win that game 1 to win that series. And if they don't, then they're going to be in big trouble because Miami I think they have more talent. The coaching is pretty even, and it's going to be hard to see them not winning in that series just because they are supremely talented. But they're young, so maybe playoff jitters. That's going to be the one X factor, I think. But Miami in 5. That's what I'm going to go with in that game. We move on to OKC versus Houston. No Russell Westbrook in that series. Is that going to affect Houston's play?
I think so, absolutely. I think Westbrook, he's one of those teams that they need to get going offensively because although they have, even though players like Harden have stepped up defensively recently, I think they're not overall the strongest defensive team. And I think if they're losing a key offensive piece, that's going to show a lot. And that's why I say OKC will take it in 7. I think Houston has the talents, but I think OKC is a better built team overall. And I think in playoffs, that will show. And if it's one of those things where if Houston does win, it's not going to surprise me because it's Houston, it's James Harden. They can always, you never completely bet against a player like James Harden. Mm-hmm. But if I had to give the edge to someone, I would personally give it to Oklahoma.
It's a series where anything can happen. Russell Westbrook, we don't know when he's going to play. So this is a series where the first 2 games are crucial for OKC. No one expect them to be a playoff team. Chris Paul, he's had a terrific year. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, again, another Canadian shout-out. He has been terrific all year for the Thunder. And then Billy Donovan, one of the best coaches in the NBA. And he is, again, just like Nick Nurse, one of the reasons OKC is as good as they are. He's been unfortunate he has to play in the West, but they finished 5th. And the one thing Houston's going to struggle with is their size. They just don't have size up front. I mean, they've dealt with it well. I think even when they traded Capella, they've been an even better team defensively. But in the playoffs, it's going to be really interesting to see if they can win this series. And the reason Houston isn't going to win more than one playoff series, they have to shoot consistently every game. And you have Harden, but the way they win games, you have to shoot the lights out every game. And they're going to shoot a bunch of threes. We all know that. And that's their formula to win. But they're not going to win. Even if they win one series, they're not going to win 2. It's simply because you have to shoot really well to win 4 games. And even if you shoot well one game, you have to play great defensively. And Houston just doesn't have the formula to win. You don't win by shooting the lights out. You win by playing great defense, and that's what OKC does. Yeah. If they had Russell Westbrook, I would give the edge to Houston because of just the star power. Harden, incredible player, incredible scorer. He's one of a kind player. He finds a way to score the ball whenever he wants. I have a lot of respect for James Harden, but I worry about Houston this series, and I have to go OKC in 7. I'll agree with you. I think they're just more of a team. They're more of a unit, and they play better defense. Defense versus offense, I'll always take defense. They have less superstars, OKC, but I'm gonna give the edge to OKC, and I'll leave it right there.
I have to say I do agree with both of you. I do know Houston defensively is a concern, and I do agree with you, Evan, about the fact that I don't think they'll win. Even if they go through in the series, I don't know if they would win the second.
It's going to be a close series for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to call because Houston has more, you'd say talent on paper, but OKC is just we've seen all year why they're fifth. It's because they play great defense and they're well coached. Just like they remind me of the Raptors last year. Came out of nowhere. Billy Donovan, terrific job, as I said before. But OKC are just a team that no one expected to do well, and they've completely overachieved. Good for them. I'm rooting for OKC to do well because of kind of no one gave them a shot, and I like teams that kind of come out of nowhere and play the way they have. If you watch OKC, and I don't think many people watched OKC this year because why would you watch? No one's really going to watch them consistently. They're not like a superstar team. But I've watched many games that they play this year just because I love the way they play defense. They're so talented on that end of the floor. They've bought into Billy Donovan's system. I'm trying to formulate my thoughts. But the way they play defense and the way they kind of get at you, they don't let you breathe for a second. Their energy is second to none. And if you haven't watched much of OKC, that's a series you guys should watch. But watch OKC get that upset. I'll change it. OKC in 6 games. Because that team just doesn't let you breathe on the offensive floor. I can't wait to watch OKC Houston, however many games they do end up playing.
But with that being said, though, I have to say that the player that we all need to look at, and you guys have kind of addressed already, is James Harden. And I think that is why I'm actually on the opposite end of both of you. I think shutting out a player like Harden is the key for OKC. And for me, that although because defensively, as you said, the team is not as strong as it should be, and offensively without Westbrook, and generally they don't have that much firepower but him. So for me, it depends on how they approach this game, and I think he'll be key to obviously to the series for me. That being said, I'm going to go get both of you. I actually do think when Harden plays in these games, I think he shows up when more times than not, and I feel like that is going to be the big factor for Houston in the series. And for me, I think they'll actually take it in 7.
Just since you said like you think we should focus on Harden, but I'll also point out that we should focus on Chris Paul, who has been having like a comeback year. He never had a bad year, but he has been kind of like on the downward.
He was his Harden shadow for a little bit. So now he's a veteran piece of that team. He's a leader of OKC, and he's really being able to shine, and he's really being able to show what he's all about under Billy Donovan.
And he also probably has a bone to pick with Houston. Mm-hmm. They kind of trade him away, thinking that he'll be kind of just a throwaway player. But Chris Paul is one of those players that he's competitive. It shows, and I think that could really drive OKC a lot.
Yeah, it's for sure going to be an exciting series. And let's finish our NBA talk with the Lakers-Portland. I'm pretty sure we all have the Lakers in however many games. Let's break this series down really quickly. I have Lakers in 5. I think Portland will steal 1, but despite Damian Lillard playing really well, CJ McCollum has a broken back. Carmelo is not Carmelo of 10 years ago. Nurkic is back, but he has to go up against Anthony Davis. So I'll just say Lakers in 5. Portland doesn't play good enough defense, and the Lakers are going to really expose that. You have LeBron, Davis, and the supporting cast. Kuzma's being well. The Lakers are a bunch of players where you don't know who's going to show up on any given night, but Portland's not good enough to beat this Lakers team. I can guarantee that. So I can almost guarantee Lakers in 5. I put a lot of money on that one. That's the only series I'm confident in the amount of games it's going to go. Lakers in 5. Portland, if they play better defense, it'd be a different story. Lillard's going to be an exciting player to watch, but at the end of the day, you don't win a series by yourself, and the Lakers are just too good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'd say Lakers in 5. I'd say maybe 6. Maybe Damian still an extra game.
I'd say maybe 4. Portland does not win 2 games a series. I would guarantee it. We come back next week, and I'm just that confident about it.
Anyway, my main prediction though will be 5.
The only reason I disagree with both of you is I do think the way Lillard has been playing does interest me a little bit. I know the Lakers are. I still say Lakers for me in 6. The only reason why I'm giving them more of a chance in this is because I think it can't be understated how great Lillard has been recently. And I think in a series like this against the Lakers, I want to see how he does. I have a good feeling about him, but I could be very wrong. Without McCollum being out and Nurkic being, even though Nurkic is back, I do think they have a rebound presence, and I do think there are some claims to say that maybe Portland has a chance in this series, but at the end of the day, I think the Lakers are the stronger team. They have the superstar power. They do have that, and that's why I will say Lakers.
Let's switch our focus to the NHL, where the playoffs are well underway. The first round is almost over for a few teams, but all the series are still going as no one has gotten a sweep. There are some teams up 3-1, but no one has won the series yet. So we will discuss what we've seen so far, and we will, I guess we could start with any game that we want. You're a Philadelphia fan, so I guess we can start there. Philadelphia is up 2-1. They play today. Do Montreal have any chance of winning 4 games in that one?
If you asked me a week ago, I would have said no. But the way Flyers have been playing, even when they won, haven't been great. They've looked a lot sloppier compared to how they've been playing in the round robin or in the season before the break. So I still think I predicted Flyers in 5. I still think they will pull through in 5, but I wouldn't be surprised if Montreal takes a game or even takes a series. I pray that won't be like that.
You have to give Philadelphia the edge because they're the more talented team. They have more, they just have better players, and when you have better players in hockey, it's hard to get an upset. I think Montreal will win a game because Carey Price is that good of a goaltender.
Yeah, he's really shown the series.
He's gone back to the reason why they're paying him a lot of money. I don't like both teams. I don't like Philadelphia mainly because of you. We all know that, if we're being completely honest. I mean, I'm nothing if not honest, man. But no, Philadelphia is a good team. They've struggled a little bit this series. I haven't caught all of their games. Again, there's been a lot going on. It's hard to watch everything right now. It's just, we all know sports fans, everything is happening at once. So you got to pick what you want to watch and kind of stick to a game. But I mean, I've seen, clips of the series. Philadelphia, they're doing the little things well. They put pucks on net. They play hard defensively. They don't give Montreal much. So Montreal has played really well defensively, and they kind of stayed in games because of Carey Price. But I see Montreal winning one more. Maybe it goes to 7 if they win today. I think today's game's crucial. If Philadelphia goes up 3-1, there's no chance. But if Montreal wins today, then Philadelphia fans, it's time to start panicking just a little bit.
That's what I'm worrying about.
So we'll see after today's game. Today's game is massive. So Matthew, enjoy that one because I know you probably won't. You'll probably be panicking just like every Leaf fan was in the first series against Columbus. Speaking of Columbus, Tampa Bay's up 3-1. They play on Wednesday. They play Wednesday at 12 o'clock. Columbus, they're done. It looks like they are.
Honestly, I'd say Columbus is done. If you remember, and I know you're interrupting with this one, so just let me finish talking for this one. I predicted that Columbus was going to take in 7 and be upset. Am I surprised that it's not going to be like that? No, because Tampa is the better team. They are the more talented team. I was predicting it to be an upset because it's not what you'd be expecting. I did think it would be a close series. It's not a close series, but each game has shown that it could have been. The first game of the series was the 5 overtime game. My prediction was that Columbus would make Tampa work for the wins, and I think Columbus has done that. But Tampa has pulled through even through Columbus' defense better than I thought, better than I gave him credit for, and I think Tampa will take the series now.
Yeah, I mean, that 5 overtime game was nuts. I started watching that game in the first overtime. I didn't think I'd be there for another game and a half. What a game that was. I don't even know how long that game was. It was probably at least 7 hours of hockey. That's a game that you're never going to replicate if you're a hockey fan. If you missed it, it's tough because that was one hell of a game. Brayden Point obviously won that game in overtime. But I have to disagree with you. Columbus, they've kept they've kept the score close in most of the games or in all of the games, but Tampa Bay's been the better team clearly. Columbus wasn't able to get away with what they got away with in Toronto because Toronto didn't score as frequently. Tampa Bay has too much talent, and they're too well coached. John Cooper is one of the better coaches in the NHL. And when you have that level of talent, it's hard to kind of keep them out. And they went through a lot against Toronto. They went into a few overtimes and they went into 5 overtimes. I just think they're tired. I think Tampa Bay wins the series in the next game. And if they don't win the next game, it will be at least 6 games. Columbus isn't going to win 2 in a row. We've just seen who the better team is, and when a team gets upset the way they did last year, then they have a chance to redeem themselves. It's very rare you see them winning the series 2 years in a row. I mean, I'm happy my prediction was Tampa Bay in 6 because it's looking pretty good right now. But credit to Columbus. They've done well. They lost Artemi Panarin, and they play well as a team. I like John Tortorella a lot. I think Columbus plays the right way. Unfortunately, Tampa Bay is just too good of a team.
Yeah, agreed.
We can move on to another series. Let's stick with the East. We'll cover that, and then we'll move on to the West. Boston is now up 3-1 after scoring 4 goals in the third period against Carolina. James Reimer must be having some flashbacks from 2012, but Carolina, Boston without Tuukka Rask and David Pastrnak have found a way to go up 3-1.
Yeah, I had Boston taking a series. I thought it would be a closer series than it looks to be right now, and who knows, it still could be.
Yeah,
but I think Boston. It's more likely not that Boston will finish it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for James Reimer, man, but it's hockey. Boston, they just know how to win. They're not. I can't see Boston winning a Stanley Cup without Tuukka Rask. Whoever they play next round, I'm pretty sure they're gonna lose to, just because you can't. It's so hard to win without your starting goalie. It's no disrespect. I'm thinking of Anton Khudobin. It's not Khudobin that's in net right now. It's he was there last year. It's yes, thank you, Yaroslav Halak. That's in net for. I mean, he's been probably the best backup goalie in hockey, but you don't win Stanley Cups with backup goalies. Tuukka Rask, I hope everything's okay with him. I don't know if it's a family thing. I don't know what the situation is, but whatever it is, I hope all is well with him. But yeah, you can't win without Tuukka Rask if you're Boston. You don't win Stanley Cups without your starting goalie. I guarantee we see Halak make 1 or 2 mistakes that Tuukka Rask doesn't make in crucial moments. And for that reason, they probably will beat Carolina in the next game or in the next 2 games, but whoever they play next round, I guarantee who's going to beat them, because you can't win without with a backup goalie in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It doesn't work. It doesn't happen. The final series in the East is the one that looks like it's going to be wrapped up very quickly in a surprising way. The Islanders are up 3-0 against the Washington Capitals.
I had the Caps winning,
mm-hmm.
but even if the Islanders won, I had, regardless of Caps won or Islanders won, I predicted
a closer series. Yeah.
I thought it was going to be Caps in 7, but if Islanders were 7, that wouldn't have been too much of a surprise. But Islanders in 3-0.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming.
I know the Islanders are a good team, and I forgot all of a sudden. I'm like, I was talking about Barry Trotz in the last podcast. I'm like,
he wants a couple.
I was watching game. I was watching game 1. I'm like, oh, wait a second. Barry Trotz was the coach for Washington. For some reason, didn't even register in my mind. Again, I didn't think Washington would get swept or potentially swept, but the Islanders are a good team. Barry Trotz is, again, a great head coach, and the Islanders have a lot of good players. Anders Lee has been terrific. They've had good goaltending. Defense, they're one of the better defensive sides in hockey. That goes underrated and kind of unnoticed at times for whatever reason that may be. But the Islanders have played terrific hockey. I've caught one. Yeah, I've caught one. Yeah, I caught one full game of the Islanders. I caught game 2. They just they play a really good brand of hockey, and it looks like they're going to get the sweep. Washington just looks down and out. Their chance wasn't that it wasn't overtime in game 3, and the Islanders came through. The Islanders win tough games. We saw last year in Pittsburgh, they swept them in the first round. No one saw that coming. Maybe the Islanders in 6 or 7 again last year. Just mean, I picked the Islanders just because I thought they're just a tough team to beat. With Barry Trotz, I had a good feeling about the Islanders beating Washington, and I had them in 7. Looks like it's going to be 4. Let's move on to the West, where the series, I mean, let's say a touch closer. We'll start with the closest series. We'll talk about the Blues and Canucks. The Canucks are up 2-0, but St. Louis has clawed their way back, the defending champions, to make it a 2-2 series. You think that series is going to 7? Because it's looking very likely at this point.
I think I predicted it to go 7.
Yeah.
And I'm sticking by that. I think Vancouver has such a talented young team. St. Louis are the reigning champs, and I think they have still shown that they can play at that level. Yeah, I predicted it to be a close series. I think it'll still be a close series, and this is really even matchup. I think they're 2 very good teams.
Yeah, I think I'd say Louis in 5 or 6, but yeah, Vancouver's played terrific, and they've overachieved. I didn't think Vancouver would play as well as they have. They have a lot of good players, a lot of good young players. We talk about Quinn Hughes a lot, but no, Vancouver plays. They play tough and they're hard to beat. It's just no one really saw it coming. St. Louis, the defending Stanley Cup champions. You expect them to win a little more comprehensively, but it's not because they haven't played good hockey. They've played terrific hockey, St. Louis, but so has Vancouver. I think this series deserves to be 2-2 based on the fact that both teams are playing just great hockey, and I hope it goes 7 games because a game 7 in this series, just anything can happen. I picked St. Louis to win, so of course I'll stick by them because, again, they're the defending Stanley Cup champions, and I mean they got the target on their back, and no, they're still a very good hockey team. But Vancouver, all credit to them. They deserve all the praise they're getting because they're playing excellent hockey right now. And no, they're exciting. They have a good future, Vancouver. And no one really saw it coming this year, but they can win a playoff series. And they're doing better than the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's all I'll say about that. That's all I'll say about that matchup. Is there anything else to say?
I'll say this when you mentioned the Leafs thing. I think the young players on Vancouver show more experience than the Leafs do. They have played more hard. They put more effort in, and I think that kind of says all. Seeing where the teams are right now.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to watch the rest of that series. If you're a hockey fan or a basketball fan and you're kind of deciding what to watch, tune into that series if you haven't. Great hockey going on there. We'll talk about the other Canadian team that's again in a great series, Calgary Dallas. They play it later today, but tied 2-2, very even series. I think I had I picked a 7-game series. I can't remember who I picked. To win. Maybe Matthew, you remember better than I do, but
I remember I picked Calgary in 7. I don't think you picked. I think you said it could go your way. You see, you were going down like.
I may have picked Dallas in 7 then, but I think I did pick Dallas in 7. But both teams are playing great. Again, great series. If you haven't watched any of that series yet, I would tune into that because
it's one of those series. Either team could take it, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. No, just like the St. Louis Vancouver series, they're playing great hockey. Yeah. It's exciting to watch. They're close. At Dallas, they were down with 12 seconds left. Joe Pavelski sent that game to, or I think it was Joe Pavelski that sent it to overtime. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll just look at the box score really quickly on that one. It was Joe Pavelski scored a hat trick to send that series to send that game to overtime. Then Radulov, that's right, scored the OT winner. But that series go either way. Dallas has the momentum because the team that won the last game always has the momentum. But Calgary, they're trying to exercise their demons from last year after getting swept by Colorado. As Calgary was the 1 seed last year. Both 1 seeds got swept last year. It's kind of funny when you think about it. Hockey is very different from basketball, where kind of anyone can beat anyone. But in basketball, it's more predictable, and that kind of reflected in our picks. We were very divided on our hockey picks last week, and this week we're pretty kind of on the same page in basketball, and just that's the reality of both sports. Hockey playoffs is great because you don't know who's going to win any game, and any given game is different. Anybody could be anybody, and tune into that series because terrific hockey going on in the Dallas Calgary series. Let's talk about a series that isn't very close. Chicago, Vegas. Chicago avoided the sweep, but the series looks like it's gonna go Vegas's way. If the Chicago are gonna win 3 in a row.
I think I had
said Vegas.
I had Vegas in like 5 or 6. I thought maybe Chicago would put up a bit more fight because they had momentum coming out of the round robin. But like, I mean, and who knows, it might happen. They might win an extra game. But Vegas takes serious. They are the overall better team.
Yeah.
And they've like ever since they came into the league, they've just been like solid team through and through. And like, every year it shows.
Yeah, I picked Vegas in 4 or 5, and I mean that's what's gonna happen. Put your house on Vegas winning the next game. They're gonna finish it off. Yeah, Chicago won, but it's because Edmonton plays just like Toronto. They play afraid and they play scared. And outside of McDavid and Matthews, everyone else just underwhelmed in the 2 series. I'm talking about 2 kind of separate things at once for whatever reason, but it's kind of where my head's going when I think of Chicago and how they beat Edmonton. Chicago just played better hockey. Edmonton really shouldn't have let that happen, but they did. So Vegas is showing why they are one of the better teams in the NHL. They'll win in 5. I don't want to really discuss more because it's just you know how this series is going to finish.
Yeah.
And I'd rather talk about the Colorado Avalanche and Nazem Kadri, the former Leaf, who's having one hell of a series for Colorado. He's done it all this playoffs. He's scoring. He had that goal with 0.1 seconds left in the seeding games. They're up 3-1. Are they going to finish it off in the next game?
Yeah, I predicted I think Colorado in 5, and I'm sticking by that.
I think we're on the same page for that series, right? Yeah.
It's not much to say about the series. I think
Colorado's not much to say. Colorado is a better team. Yeah, I have no other words other than the fact that we're on the same page. Good for Colorado. Arizona, I like them. They've I think overachieved a little bit this year, and when a team overachieves, you kind of root for them. But yeah, Colorado, the better team. They're 3-headed monster: McKinnon, Landeskog, and Mikko Rantanen's proving why they are one of the 3-headed monsters in the NHL. And then again, Nazem Kadri playing great hockey, and their goalie, Philip Grubauer, he's playing well in net. Colorado, but they have an outside shot to win the Stanley Cup. Not an outside shot. They're one of the favorites in the West.
Yeah.
I'm really thinking them or Vegas. That's my prediction right now. Them or Vegas. Because when you have good goaltending, you have great offensive line, and then great defense. That's really I mean, they have no flaws, Colorado. Phil Grubauer hasn't done much, but he hasn't had to. Colorado's playing excellent hockey. Looks like that's going to be finished in 5.
Yeah, I agree.
We will finish our podcast this week with a little bit of footy talk. We'll bring back Daria for this one. And we will talk about the Champions League and Europa League. There's been a lot happening. There's been a game every single day going on. It's kind of every football fan's paradise right now. So we'll start with the Champions League, of course. We'll go in order of the games that happened last week. We'll start with Tuesday's game, Atleti versus Leipzig. I think we're both surprised Leipzig won that game. Or sorry, Leipzig won that game. Yes, upsetting Atletico Madrid. A late goal from Tyler Adams.
So even now you can't believe it.
Yeah.
It was quite astonishing, like seeing, like we all had, a lot of people had Atletico's favorites, especially with Leipzig losing so much in this transfer window already. And to see them
they only lost Warner. They've only lost Warner. That's not say too
that's
much.
That's quite a big piece.
Yeah, that's what you meant. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But I gotta say, like seeing that team against Atleti, I'm really proud proud of them because I do think it's the first semifinal they've reached, and now and they've only been a team since 2009, 2007, around there.
Yeah.
It's quite incredible to me. It's a really good story for football in general. So that was great to see.
If there was any upset that I wouldn't be surprised by, it was Leipzig. Leipzig are still well coached. Julian Nagelsmann. Fuck that guy. Leipzig are extremely well coached. And despite losing Werner, Atletico don't really attack you. They kind of sit back, and I think that's the wrong game plan from Simeone. I think you kind of had to attack them a little more. They didn't create too much. João Felix got a penalty, but they didn't create too much offensively, and Atletico didn't do too much wrong defensively. They were beaten by an excellent header by Dani Olmo to start the second half, and then at late goal from Tyler Adams off a deflection. Not much Jan Oblak, one of the top 2 or 3 keepers in the world. Not much he could do about that when it took that wicked deflection. There's nothing any goalie in the world is gonna do about that one. But Atletico are out. This was a big chance for them to maybe secure a Champions League. Leipzig move on. They're going to have a tough matchup against PSG. It's going to be hard for them to win that, but they're in the semifinals, and what an incredible story they've been on, because they really came out of nowhere, and they've only been established the last maybe 10 years. So excellent story, RB Leipzig, and they beat the favorites, not Champions League favorites, but the favorites in that tie, Atletico Madrid. But yeah, Leipzig, they're going to play PSG on Tuesday. We will talk about the Wednesday's game. Not really an upset. PSG beating Atlanta. I think Atlanta just were a tired team, but they played well, and it took 2 late PSG goals to upset them. A late goal in the 90th minute by Marquinhos, and then in extra time, Choupo-Moting put them away. But what do you make of Atlanta's performance?
You have to give them credit where credit's due. I do think they put up a great performance in general. But, I think at the end of the day, the quality that PSG had was just a little bit too much. And it came at the last few minutes, essentially, when the game where it mattered most. But this was a telling sign for what PSG was like, what PSG is at the moment as a team. They are a team that can face an opposition like Atalanta, and I believe is it Leipzig they're playing in their next round, or is it Lyon?
They play Leipzig. They play Leipzig, yeah.
So depending on when this goes out, we don't know what the score will be, but it's a telling sign about their team, and I do think Atalanta deserved something, but obviously this is a one-legged quarterfinal, so unfortunately it just had to go the way it did. So
yeah, again, it's I'll use your word, unfortunate for Atlanta, because the Serie A is still going on. They're finishing their season, and the French league's been done for a while. So PSG are just more well rested. But they left a late PSG. Atlanta could have won. They would have ran out of gas anyways. They could have played Leipzig though. That would have been 2 underdog stories trying to make it to the finals. But it's going to be a PSG versus Leipzig, and there's one team that's going to be a heavy favorite over there. But no, credit to them. Atlanta, well coached, just like Leipzig. This was their first ever European journey, and they almost made it to the semifinal. So all credit to them. But PSG, kind of fighting their demons of the Champions League, never making it, or struggling to make it past the quarterfinals every year. They spend a lot of money. Neymar, Mbappe. So they have a lot of superstars on that team, and they have a lot of expectations to beat Leipzig. So they should make the finals, where they may face a Bayern Munich team that there are many words we can describe what they did to Barcelona, but I'll use the word annihilate them. They played them out of the pitch. 8-2 Bayern over Barcelona. Leo Messi is probably not feeling too good after that one. Not much he could do. But Quique Setien fired basically right after that game. I'll say, what this that game reminded me of? It reminded me of England-Iceland. And Roy Hodgson was sacked about 30 seconds after that final whistle went. What do you make of the Bayern-Barcelona game? What a display from Bayern Munich.
I was asking myself this question after the game, and I was thinking, was Barcelona really that bad, or was Bayern Munich really that good? And honest truth is, I think it was a little bit of both. That performance from Barcelona was disgraceful, and I think fans from there can agree with that. It was absolutely ridiculous how awful they were. And they just didn't show up, and going down within the first 8 minutes said a lot.
I think it was even the first 5 minutes.
5 minutes, yeah. But we have to give credit where credit's due. That Bayern Munich team is a machine. I mean, all around, midfield, defensively, like they just have everything. And seeing players like Alphonso Davies and their fullbacks, like both fullbacks were getting into the mix, and the strikers, like did Lewandowski even score? I don't even think he scored.
Yes, he scored
one.
one.
Oh, did he score?
Yeah,
he scored one. The fact that like I even have to ask myself that question is because there were so many players that were just incredible in the night. Coutinho as well. So it's quite insane to think that Bayern Munich beat Barcelona 8-2, and it wasn't even close. It's kind of shocking.
Yeah, I mean, that was coming for Barca. Do I think they're going to lose 8-2? No, I don't think many people did, but I mean, they deserve to lose 8-2. Bayern's all over the pitch. Great performance. Hans Flick's done a great job. Coaching matters so much in soccer. Whenever a team does really well, it usually comes down to coaching, but the players were terrific. Yeah, it was hard to see how that could possibly happen. The Barcelona team that's had so many good players and teams over the year, but they've been mismanaged for a long time. Until that board goes, it doesn't look like Barca is going to be able to recover. And if they lose Messi, that team's in big, big trouble. As an aging team, Messi, he could be gone this summer. Who knows? There's been rumors about that happening, but it's just, everyone on Bayern played terrifically. They have great defensive players. You talk about the fullbacks. Davies and Kimmich connected for a great goal, where Davies basically just, stared Semedo straight in the eyes, said, "You're not going to touch me," and just blew by him, set up Kimmich, and Kimmich had a tap in. Davies is probably the best left back in the world after only playing the position for 1 year. So his rise has been phenomenal, and that's great for Canadian soccer, one, but also great for Bayern Munich, who look poised to win another Champions League. They're the only team left in the semifinals that's won. They're the only team that's actually won Champions League before, so they know how to do it. But I just want the German mentality is so good. They are ruthless. We saw it in the World Cup when they beat Brazil 7-1. They don't put their foot off the gas. Thomas Muller, you saw his emotion whenever he scored. He's just a ruthless striker. Underrated. He's only 28. He feels like he's been around for a long time. I remember as a Chelsea fan when he scored in the Champions League late to give them the lead. Drogba, we all know what happened. We all know what happened when he scored that goal in the 89th minute. But yeah, he was only 22 when that happened. It feels like Thomas Muller's been around forever. But only 28, and just the German mentality is just ruthless. They are cold-blooded killers. And every time they scored, it just looked like they wanted more, and they were just hungry. And they did not take their foot off the gas for one moment, and nor should they. It's a sign of respect. But Barca just got disrespected for about 90 minutes. Setien right to be fired, but that's not the only problem. Barca has many problems. One, they're an aging squad. B, their board just doesn't know their head from the rear end, to put it politely. And three, they're an aging squad where Messi may be gone. And if Messi leaves, I don't know how they win La Liga for the next 5-6 years, because spent a lot of money over the next few years on big money transfers that haven't worked out. We've seen Griezmann; he's been a colossal disappointment. So they have to kind of regroup, and they have to evaluate everyone at that squad or in that squad, because it wasn't good enough. To simply put it, was not good enough against Bayern Munich, and they comprehensively won that game.
You know what? I think this was a telling sign, and I think this was one of those games where I think it will actually be good for Barcelona in the future. The reason being is I think now everybody is realizing, because this isn't the first time they played this bad. They weren't great in the league this season, nor were they great in the Champions League as well. Their performances were lackluster. They were not playing the usual style we were accustomed to. So I really do think now that's coming to this next season, I think this is the start of their rebuild. I really do think they need to look at every single department. I'm just talking about the players. I'm talking about management as well.
Yeah, well, it's quite clearly after that. I mean that game proved it.
Yeah, and you know what? I do think that this, as I said, I think it's gonna be a good thing for them. I do think they need to go look at every department, see what they can fix, see what they can fine tune. I heard players like JRPK already saying that if you need me to go, I completely get it. And they do. And the most important thing they got to do is finalize and figure out what they're going to do, or what Messi's going to do, and figure out the future with him. He is the future still. I know, like, there's obviously Fati and Dembele, but you have to
Messi's Messi.
Messi's Messi. That, like, literally, that's it. And if his decision on if he stays or not will impact the club significantly, and you can already tell it's already altering the changes in management and all that. So my hope is this, that obviously I really do hope he stays, and I really do hope Barcelona get out of this rut. But it's one of those where it's just only time will tell. Only time will tell.
We've got 5 minutes left, so we'll skip the Europa League because I feel like we've had a lot of content today. But let's talk about the final game, Lyon versus Manchester City, the biggest upset of all the Champions League ties. Lyon, 8th place. Lyon, I think they're in 8th place in the French league, upsetting Manchester City. I think the reason they did that is Pep Guardiola tried to change too much. Going at 5 at the back was strange against the Lyon team that we knew was going to sit back. But, I mean, Cornet scored early. De Bruyne leveled it, but 2 late goals from Moussa Dembele, super sub. And we could talk about the Sterling miss too. What a surprise that was. But I guess the story of the game was everything that could go wrong went wrong for City.
Yeah, you know what? Me being a United fan, this was quite an enjoyable game, as you can imagine. But if I'm taking my United colors away for just a second, it really does show how Pep Guardiola, how much of a disappointment he's been with this team when it comes to European success.
Yes.
And it honestly, I don't think enough people have talked about it in the past. And I think this is the game that finally people are saying this was it. And I think really City got to look at themselves and say this was a game they should have won. And they had no excuses coming into it. I credit where credit's due. Lyon played a really smart game. They were well coached, and they took their chances ultimately. But that City performance was terrible, and the way that Sterling miss ended up being what costed them the game.
I guess it summed up their night. To be honest,
it did. It did, and you know what? This is another sign for what English teams. I know, obviously, last season we had 2 English teams in the final. But
it was 4 English teams, Europa League and Champions League. It was all English affair. This year, not one.
But now look at this. Yeah, all of them gone. You had instead have 2 French teams and 2 German teams. So
yeah,
there you go.
I mean, outside of PSG, Lyon are surprising because you don't really expect the French to do well. But, the Premier League teams have a lot to look at. I mean, I think it speaks more to the fact that anything could happen in soccer. I mean, the Premier League is still the best league in the world. It's most competitive. But I think a lot of teams have underwhelmed because the expectations are high for them, but the players and the cohesiveness of the teams are not good enough yet. Liverpool and City are there, but City underwhelmed the Champions League. And I think Pep, I don't know what he was doing. It seemed like he changed too much. And I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like an expert, but it seemed like the fans all knew. And there's one of the games that kind of the fans could say, "What are you doing, Pep?" And it turned out to be right. It was too confusing. It looked too complicated. And when you have the talent and the level that Man City have, and you like the money they spent, we all know it's an astronomical amount of money that Pep Guardiola spent on the entire team, defenders, midfielders. I mean, he basically changed that entire squad, and it didn't make sense. Go against Lyon with your best team, the team that wins you the most games, and the way that you've been playing all year, and Lyon capitalized on a mistake. They played great against Real Madrid, but it just says that you're only as good as your last game. And unfortunately, Man City, well, not unfortunately, fortunately for you and, me as a Chelsea fan, Man City are eliminated and continue to search for that elusive first Champions League title. We'll wrap up this podcast. Champions League is going on today and tomorrow. Do we both have Bayern Munich and PSG playing in the finals?
I don't see any other way for me.
We will maybe preview that game on Saturday. I think we can do an emergency podcast for the Champions League finals. But until then, thank you for listening to 5-5 Sports. It's been a pleasure doing this again this week. A lot's been happening. So stay tuned for the upcoming weeks because there's still a lot going on in the world of sports. So from 5-5 Sports, from Matthew and Daria, we will see you guys next week. Take care.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.